to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to your weekly call. My name's Honish. I am a marketer, and I am joined by David Bartels. How are you today, David?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much.
David is a broker, and he also runs a company called Home Loan Advocates. Talk about Home Loan Advocates, David. Did I lose you? Did it all end that fast? Are you there? Hi, everybody. Welcome to your weekly coaching call. My name's Honish. I am a marketer. Feel free to visit honish.com, fill out a form. I will talk to you. If you're scared by what's going on, I will talk to you about solutions that will work for you, or text me at 858-663-2537. I am joined, as always, on this distressed property call by broker and owner of Home Loan Advocates, David Bartels. How are you today, David?
Well, I'm doing just fine, aside from the technical difficulties I'm having this morning. Everything is going really well, and we're excited about some of the challenges that we get in our normal business routine, because it forces us to really think about where we are, where we're going, and how to get there. So a little challenge mixes things up and brings out the best of us in a lot of times.
How do people get a hold of you and find out more? Because obviously a distressed market is obviously looming.
Well, there's definitely some indication that, what we've been talking about for a long time, that distress is coming back. It looks like it's coming back, not exactly under the circumstances that we've been talking about, but it's coming back. And if you need help with a short sale, a foreclosure, a loan modification, you just reach out to us. Our number is 805-413-8000, 805-413-8000, and website homeloanadvocates.com, and I'm David Bartels.
And if you want very unique marketing, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, to get yourselves in front of those people, just fill out the form. Go to honish.com, real simple, HONISH.com. It's a 3-line form: name, phone number, email. I took down all the other website stuff to make it easier for everybody. I've been slammed, David, for the last 24 hours, to be perfectly honest. I was joking with our coaching students, and for the coaching students on the call, typing your questions, we'll answer them today. We want to hear from you guys in the field. I've been slammed. And I was joking before the call saying, people don't call me when things are going good. People call me when the crap hits the fan. Well, the stock market hit the fan. Everybody's on lockdown. My birthday's about to be completely ruined, David, just on a selfish level. I have nowhere to go. I'm pretty sure my Counting Crows concert is about to be canceled in April. So let's just talk about this, all right? Let's put everything on the table and go ahead and chime in. And for those of you on the coaching call, we have a big room, and I want to answer everybody's questions and cover everything you want to. I've made a lot of mistakes over the last 6 months. I think everybody got really comfortable. Life changes, everything changes, and literally within 30 days, everything changes, right? We are introduced to a pandemic that we thought was on another continent. We didn't think it was a big deal. It's not going to come here. It's all been bottled. Okay, it's on a cruise ship. Okay, wait, it's not on a cruise ship. It's on the shore. It's been on the shore for about 1 day. And within about 48 hours, and the exponential rate we're talking about, it's very conceivable that a very large portion of the United States is going to test positive for this. I personally think, based on what I know about numbers, I think it's inevitable, okay? Just looking at exponential growth rate. I don't think people could stay inside. I could say this from living at the beach. People are not staying inside. They're coming out on the weekends. They're going to where they can go for free, right? It's affecting businesses. It's affecting lives. And I can already say this for people that I know personally. It's hard. I know someone whose sister has the disease. This isn't like something far away. This is very real. And it is affecting what we do on a day-to-day for 1.5 million real estate agents, another million investors, about 1.5 million loan brokers who make their living by meeting with people on a daily basis. This is at least a 3 to 5 million person portion of business that has been shut down, and conceivably being shut down for, all right, I'm going to be very optimistic for everybody, 60 days, 90 days. What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, in terms of how long we're going to be, in this phase of shutdown.
Anything. Actually, for those that are on the call for the first time and don't know this because you've been away for so long, David married very well. You have a wife who is a unique person, also related to business. I'm sure there's been a discussion in your household based on where she works and how you work. I just want to hear your side of the world on what you guys think in your
All
household.
right. Well, so we obviously talk about the state of business every single day. My wife is a portfolio manager for Morgan Stanley, and she manages about $300 million in private equity, mostly with full discretion. So she about 500 clients. And so she's got a lot of responsibility. The turbulence in the stock market keeps her awake at night. And and her responsibility is to preserve capital and to help these portfolios grow in a managed, safe way. And we're looking at circumstances that are well beyond our control. From my perspective, I do real estate every day. I make a living doing real estate transactions of all kinds. We obviously have a short sale negotiation company. We've got an interest in an escrow company. We've got our brokerage, that we run, and we're in the middle of a startup of another company, that's real estate related that we'll eventually be talking about, and those things kind of have an impact. So from the stock market perspective, it's just really, they're kind of related. The big difference is when you look at the stock market and you see the turbulence in the stock market, what you see is immediate feedback on fears or confidence. So when somebody says something, President Trump, for example, comes out and says something and it encourages, or there's an action that takes place that feels positive, then the stock market roars up. And then at the slightest, at the slightest whisper of bad news coming and how that's going to affect the overall economy, you see it dives down. What you're seeing though, and right now in the past week, to give you an idea, is that the stock market as of today has erased all of the gains that we've had since Trump became president. And this has nothing to do with Trump or my politics or anything like that. I'm just kind of giving you a reference point. So it's erased all of those gains, and it's really not in anybody's control to do anything about it. What it is basically a referendum of the financial market's confidence in the future and preparation for what they think is going to be a major and serious recession, with Wall Street saying for a long time that we were due for a correction, that we were due for a pullback. But I think overall that is going to be healthy. Now, it's going to be healthy for the overall economy at some point. Now, when you contrast that to real estate is more of a lagging indicator. What's happening right now in real estate is not going to show up in the data for several months. People not wanting to list their house, or people not wanting to show houses, people not being able to get mortgages being delayed, inspections being delayed, appraisals being delayed. All the craziness comes from people not wanting to interact with other people or have unknown people in their personal, safe, clean space. that stuff is not going to be translated in the numbers for a few months. And so what our job is to do is to kind of figure out where we are in the market and figure out how to, capitalize on that. Because at the end of the day, whether or not you're talking about the stock market or you're talking about real estate, we have to make money in up markets and we have to make money in down markets. Most people don't know how to make money in down markets. When you've got an upward market, real estate or stocks, everybody's a friggin' genius. Everybody, you can mitigate a lot of mistakes, when values are going up and the markets are generally moving, to the positive side over and over again, with some exceptions. And so now what's happening is everybody's soul is being bared, and we have an opportunity really to take a look at ourselves and look at our business and figure out what is going to happen. So that's my take on that, and I'll let you lead the discussion, Lee. But I have some thoughts on what we do from here.
We're going to discuss that. We've talked about it yesterday, and for the second half, we're actually going to do solutions, but I want to cover everybody's questions. So one of the biggest questions was that a lot of people had: the Fed dropping to zero and dropping their lending guidelines, will that filter down to the real estate market? My answer is probably, right? From my perspective, and I'll get your feedback on this, David, the Fed going to literal zero and lowering their guidelines is not a healthy thing, right? The recession should happen. They should actually raise the rate. I realize why they're not doing it. I'm not ignorant to that. I actually said a year ago, almost to the day, the Fed has to raise the rate. I think we need to go into a recession. It is the way the value of the dollar works up and down. This is just me talking like a banker. It has to happen naturally. But what we've done, as you were talking about, was letting this cycle of growth continue to happen. And we can go back to the Juro tape that we actually ran on this show and the article about how they actually created a much earlier bottom from the crash of the market. We should have been in a longer period on the down cycle to get to where we were, but everybody was impatient. So they did things and they allowed things to happen where people could purchase. And we saw the depletion of real estate because of it ultimately. So I'll give you my rapid fire questions, David. Do you see them dropping lending guidelines or more hard money coming out of now that you're at zero? A hard money deal that's a no-no or a ninja or anything else is now like getting a loan back in 2007 at this point. I mean, or it's going to happen in the next 30 days.
At the end of the day, when you look at a rate from 0 to 0.25, that really has nothing to do with mortgage rates. So the mortgage rates are pegged to the 10-year, note. And those rates came down dramatically. And when they first happened, the banks just kind of let their computers dictate what it was. And 2 weeks ago, people were getting refinanced at under 3%. Now, I can never remember when you could get a mortgage that cheap, under 3%. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't have any recollection of money ever being that cheap for an individual consumer like you and I, who wants to buy a house. The Fed rate is going to lower credit card bills. It's going to lower automobile, payments and interest rates, but it does not necessarily reflect in mortgage. Mortgage has more to do with supply and demand and stock market investors flee into safety and international investors flee into savings. We spend so much time talking about the stock market, the U.S. stock market, but the truth of the matter is that the U.S. dollar is the most heavily traded, currencies are the most heavily traded thing in the world. And, there's a whole, back office thing that we don't even know about, currencies being traded between companies and countries and those kind of things. And so it really represents a flight to safety for most people. What we saw in the and the refinancing is that those rates dropped to under 3%, and then the following week they went up to 4%. Even when the Fed announced this week that they were going to go to 0%, rates actually went up. Okay, and the reason they're going up is because or refinance rates went up, and the reason for that is the banks are now overwhelmed with applications, and they do not want to. They want to slow down the tide of those applications so they can get their arms around. Now, purchase mortgages are still very, very low, but refinance applications that went through the roof, 200 to 300% increase in applications. They raise them to stem the tide of those applications, and they're doing 100-day lock rates and 180-day lock rates in order to kind of thin it out a little bit. I think overall, though, it is going to bring people into the market. It's going to do its job, but it's not going to save the market all by itself.
So there are two sides of the coin at this moment, and I will say from my perspective first, I've actually seen a spike in activity based on the Facebook leads that I generate for people of renters and buyers. Like, they're out there, and they're still out there, and they're still literally, as we're talking, I just got another notification. They're out there. Like, this is still really a thing. Let's talk about it. I want to hear your business.
I think that if you're a renter, it's great, because there are a lot of people who were planning on selling who are, going to say, you know what, I don't want to sell in this environment, and they're just going to rent their place out for a year, and take a look at it next year. It may be the greatest season for renters that we've ever seen, if that's what happens. I mean, time will tell, but there's a real possibility that rental opportunities will be abundant, and it becomes more of a renter's market as homeowners just try to find a safe path forward.
I agree, and I've seen the spike. I saw the spike for the last couple of days, so it's no surprising. So I want to put it out there to everybody on the call or listening to the podcast or watching videos. They're still out there. They've just changed direction ever so slightly. So it's really important. So let's get into it, David. Let's talk about solutions and spend the bulk of our time right here, right? Unless anybody has any real direct questions that we didn't cover that you want to know. Armando wrote, with lower mortgage rates, refi rates, will this help to keep California mortgage defaults down? No, I don't. Here's the problem. Nobody's going to work. And I realize they're creating stimulus packages, and I realize they think they're going to drop checks into mailboxes. I just don't see how this doesn't have a ripple effect.
Let's talk about how this affects real estate right now, where we are this second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And kind of address Armando's point directly, and that is what's going to cause foreclosures if that happens, and it could very well happen, is not what's happening in the stock market. I mean, the impact that's happening in the stock market is, if people's down payment money, if they've been saving it in the stock market, is now, 30%, 35% less than it was, depending on the kind of investment. If they're not in cash and they had $100,000 saved up, it could be $60,000, $70,000 right now. And that makes the difference between being able, to put the amount of money down that they, 10% down and 5% down, in some cases. So we've got to, that's going to be an impact. So the stock market, what's happening in the stock market, which is in your face all the time, is what that is going to do is that's going to either cause potential buyers to lose confidence, and they're going to just move to the sideline and wait it out, or it's going to force them to the sidelines because they are not able to buy anymore. Either they lost their job, or they've temporarily lost their job, or they don't have their down payment they had. It's been cut, significantly. That's going to move buyers to the sideline. Now, if what happens, you see this influx of inventory that traditionally comes, and there are a lot of sellers who have been waiting for this precise moment to get their house on the market. And if they continue with that, some won't, but if they continue with that and they come on the market and buyers are not there to absorb that inventory, what you will see for the first time in a really long time is sellers competing with each other to attract a fewer number of buyers, and prices will come down. And if you've got a $600,000 house and you get a 5% reduction in value, that's another 30 grand on top of the haircut you took in the stock market with your down payment money. And if it comes down 10%, it's $60,000, and some sellers just aren't going to be willing to do that. Now, there are a lot of people who have to move, okay, and they're going to sell. And so that's really what the concern is. Are sellers going to continue to come to the market, and are buyers going to be there to absorb it? So what I've been doing, and what I encourage you all to do, is right in your MLS, if you have access to it, is you can go right in the MLS, and they call it a hot sheet in our MLS, and you can look at it every single day, and you can see the number of new listings, the number of new active under contract listings. So and those are the two numbers you really want to watch. You don't want to look at closed transactions or pending transactions. That's old activity. That's before all this crazy. Okay, a lot of it. What you want to look at is what the new listings are and the new active under contracts. That tells you two things. So for instance, when I checked this morning, I saw the two numbers were 30 new listings, which is about normal. It's not, maybe slightly under normal for this time of year, but it's about normal. But there are only 14 new active under contract. And what we had been seeing last month was about 30 listings a day, 25, 30, 35 listings a day, but almost 100% of those, not those literally, but then there were also 25, 30, 35 active under contracts, which means you're seeing the absorption rate right then and there on a daily basis, and you're able to see that the buyers are absorbing that listing. And so now what we're seeing is we're seeing a gap in that, which would signal a slowdown. And so the way that, and if that slowdown is happening, then you're gonna see a pullback in pricing, but you won't see that for a month or two, okay, before you see that. And some sellers are going to want to get out ahead of it, and some are just going to blame their agent, blame coronavirus, and just kind of hold to their guns, and they're not going to end up selling their house, or they're end up taking less than they could have if they were more strategic about it. So these are just things to think about it, and you can really get a pretty good handle on what's going to happen next month by looking at what's happening today. All right. And so I encourage you all to do that. Now, from my perspective, and we run a successful, real estate office / team here, and we are still doing, plenty of transactions, and we still have new listings, but those new listings and those new opportunities were already on our, in our pipeline before all this stuff started happening to a certain extent. I've had some buyers say they don't want to look at properties right now. We have had some sellers cancel their listing appointment or postpone going on the market because they don't want people in their house, right now for, those kind of things, which is fine. They're not going away. They're just going on hold. So we just have to, the way I'm viewing it is what happens in November, December, January. We have this major pullback, and that's really what it feels like. If you just get underneath all the noise and you really take a look at your business, what it really feels like is just a slowdown in the market. And the way that I handle November, December, and January is I keep my foot on the gas, And we continue to, and we use that time to nurture our relationships, to keep everybody informed, and basically keep them mentally engaged with us. So when this does pass in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it's going to be, our business bounces back faster and higher than everybody else's business. And what that means is you just got to get back to the basics. Use it to reach out to your clients, have some phone conversation. I'd say take them to lunch, but maybe not, in this, I don't even know where you can have lunch anymore, but you just want to get back to the
hold on, David, you can have lunch with someone. You just have to be at separate tables. Okay.
Okay, got it.
You can communicate by text at separate tables. I know people want face to face. I literally agree with you completely. I would also say this, my greatest fear that I've said on multiple calls over the last couple of years is I'm scared of Blackstone. I'm scared of companies that have invested in real estate. And now that they're losing money, how long before the board of directors actually say we need to liquidate some property and get our cash back?
This isn't permanent. Nobody thinks it's permanent. You know.
Okay, okay. I just happen to have a Dr. Mom who's a PhD in this particular topic. And I said, what's the likelihood? Because I had her watch all the videos because she doesn't do much. Now that I've gotten her almost all the way back to health, I gave her all the videos and said, do your thing. Read the journal. I need to know an answer. How long till we actually see a real antidote or a real inoculation or a real solution? She goes, 6 months. Best answer, 6 months with trials. She goes, and that would be really fast. Okay, so let's use 6 months as our model. What are we looking at from your perspective, David, 6 months from today as we go back into the winter, which is the slow period of the market?
Well, there's going to be, listen, the people who have to buy and the people who have to sell are still going to have to buy or sell. Think about it like a rainy day. If you host an open house on a rainy day, you don't get as much traffic as you do on a beautiful day, but the traffic you get is serious. So, that's the way that I'm looking. Yes, there are fewer buyers and sellers in the marketplace, and we're not seeing a lot of evidence of that yet, but it's going to be that way for sure. The buyers and sellers that need to buy or sell are going to get out there and look at properties. But you're going to see fewer open houses. I mean, it's almost you almost don't even want to be seen doing an open house because it's contrary to all the things. So we're actually doing one today, 3 to 6, but I think that we have to cancel all of our open houses for now until further notice. And then we're allowing all showings by appointment only, one party at a time with their agent. And that's how we're going to start controlling the flow. And previously, I'd love it when 3 agents brought their respective clients and they all had showings at 2 o'clock. I love doing that to agents and buyers to create that fear. We're just not going to, now we're going to say, well, you can go at 2 and you can go at 2:30 and you can go at 3. Where we just can't have them on top of each other anymore, just out of respect to our governing bodies.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about solutions. Okay, and I've said this repeatedly, and for those of you that are joining us late, this is literally one of the largest coaching calls we've done in forever, David. I'm not actually surprised by it, seeing many faces that we haven't heard from in a long time. So many people who probably haven't been here since you were on a regular basis based on what I'm looking at list wise. So I'm going to knock down a few questions. First and foremost, I am getting leads. I am getting buyer and renter leads. People are still looking to move forward. Go to honish.com, HONISH.com. I'll turn on a Facebook funnel. You can work from home. Enjoy life. Let them go look on their own. You don't have to go show them a house. Just make it happen. Secondly, for those of you who don't know, the guy on the other end of the line, because all of you were late for whatever reason, that's David Bartels, owner of a very successful Help You Sell franchise out in the Conejo Valley. You were number 1, correct? Let's not diminish this.
We're the top sales team in Ventura County, 2018 and 19. Yes.
There you go. and voted by us too.
Yeah, well, that was I was the incumbent and had no competition.
I was for those of you who don't know, because you guys haven't been here in a while, 2017, 2018, and 2019, most innovative marketer in America, thanks to all of you for using Monster Marketing, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. David also owns Home Loan Advocates. How do people get a hold of you at Home Loan Advocates and get some distressed property solutions?
Well, you can call me 805-413-8000. You can email me, david@homeloanadvocates.com. So that's 805-413-8000 or david@homeloanadvocates is plural.com.
There you go. All right. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about advocate marketing, monster marketing, distressed property marketing. Let's give a real solution to this situation, right? So we talk about it constantly. A downturn in the market based on marketing, right, is an opportunity. Every phone call that I get every day from everybody who fills out a form by going to honish.com, first question out of my mouth, what should I be doing? Well, you should have been following up with your list. You should have been calling them. You should have been emailing them. You should be creating a new list. You just should be doing it. The second thing is now is the time for creative marketing and really starting to focus and making that the cornerstone of your business going forward. Because if this continues, it's going to have a ripple effect, as we just discussed for the last 20 minutes. So let's talk about that really directly. We talked about this yesterday. Now's the time, David. If you were going to pull it out of your back pocket, now's the time to double down on doing distressed property marketing.
Well, all right. So, I don't think we ever answered the question is, are we going to get more distressed properties? And I think the answer is yes. And the reason that's a yes is you're seeing lawmakers that are now calling for a moratorium on foreclosures for people who are affected by coronavirus. So if you go back to, what we said, why people won't be, why we might have a slowdown and buyers being forced to the sideline because they've lost their job, or if that happens, and right now you're seeing a lot of travel industry layoffs, you're seeing a lot of food and beverage and hotel layoffs. Most businesses that are outside of that are telecommuting, and we're not seeing wide range layoffs from there, but it's coming really from unexpected places. So if people are schools, how about educators that may or may not have their jobs, and the people who support those schools that work on campus, they may be sent to the sidelines for a while this is done, or why this goes on. So what you're seeing is that you are seeing a trickle down effect in employment numbers that are going to affect people's ability to not just qualify, but to pay for their mortgage if they already have one. So you got two sides of the coin. You got to, been talking about the people who might be buyers and whether or not they're going to continue to show up in the market. The other side of the coin is, all right, they already have a mortgage. Now they don't have a job. How do they pay their mortgage? And if the percentage of people who live paycheck to paycheck and missing one paycheck puts them behind, $1,000 or $2,000 stimulus check is not going to save their mortgage. Maybe 1 month it might be able to do that. And $1,000 to somebody in Alabama is different than $1,000 to somebody in Orange County, California. So the numbers make for good politics, but they're not really going to save any houses. And if it comes down to people buying groceries or making a car payment, they're going to buy groceries or make a car payment before they make a mortgage payment. And they're going to have a limited ability to be able to to catch up once they fall behind. And we know from 2008 and 9 and subsequent years that if somebody falls behind on their mortgage and they get to 90 days behind, the likelihood of them ever curing that is almost zero. I mean, it's almost a beeline to foreclosure. The question is not whether or not they're going to get foreclosed on. The question is how long do they have, okay, before they're foreclosed on? And, banks are a lot better prepared for that this time around. So we're going to see, kind of what happens. So is there going to be a slowdown? Yeah, but again, are people going to start missing their mortgage payments? For sure, that's going to happen. But we're not going to see those numbers for 60 or 90 days. And so one of the things that we want to do is you really want to get back to the basics again, and you really want to try to get focused on how you're going to serve that community. So when you think about what we do at Home Loan Advocates, is basically we're a loose coalition of real estate professionals, of both realtors and real estate investors, who are committed to advocate on behalf of homeowners who are facing foreclosure. And our objective there is to give them information, make sure they understand their options as it relates to foreclosure, and then help them to execute the option that is most suited to them. Maybe it's getting a forbearance, which is what which we're probably going to see some of that, where they're not going to forgive the payments, but they're going to cure the default by simply adding 2 or 3 months to their back of the mortgage and allow them to resume making their payment when this blows over. That might be one way that banks handle it. They might do loan modifications, and then in more severe cases, they might just do foreclosures. So our job is to help them identify the solution, knowing that very often these homeowners are not going to be able to get a loan modification, and they're going to end up having to sell their house. And we also end up helping them make the transition out of their old house into their new place. And ultimately that's how we get paid to help them. But we only get paid if losing the house is a fear that they're trying to avoid.
All right, so let's break it down. First of all, if everybody who's on this call live already has all the tools, everything you need. But if you want to get involved with advocate marketing or any of that, just go to honish.com, HONISH.com. I will do all the legwork to get all that information into place and to get a hold of you and to get you with whatever you need. So go to honish.com. We'll teach you. Let's start from the very beginning, David. Step number 1, because we haven't done it in forever. Where do we get our data these days?
Well, we're still, you can get your data from a lot of places. I still prefer Property Radar, mostly because not because the data is the best, which isn't the most critical.
It's just easy to operate. I agree.
It's just user friendly. I mean, and that's relative. I mean, it still, takes a minute for some people to kind of figure it out, but once they do, it's really easy. And so that's my preference.
Okay, for everybody on the call, in order of succession, Property Radar first. They don't cover every state. Next would be Realty Track. They are the most user-unfriendly system ever. And since our friend is no longer working there, I can crap all over him. So I got a long memory. I've had meetings with those people, and they got rid of the one and only person who actually worked there who I actually like. So forget them. Property Radar, Realty Track. Realty Track covers most of the country, number 2. Number 3, if you have to, you can contact your title company. I don't buy into this whole RESPA crap. There are many people that I have talked to across the country that have used your title rep. I'm just telling you, your title companies and the title plant are getting data that is just so far behind the curve.
They just can't give it to you in exchange. But they can sell it to you.
Yeah, and for whatever it is, however that works out so that it works for you. I mean, legally, thank you for that, David. I appreciate that. But the reality is, my problem with title data, or even in places like Virginia or some of the other places where you can actually get it on the MLS, your plants are getting the data so far behind. And from what I know, because I've worked with people who bought feeds of the MLS or distressed data, it is really like a pipeline. If you picture a pipeline and you start to rank where people are on the pipeline, right? People buy at the beginning of the pipeline, people buy, and they sell where they're getting the data fresh from the source, right? Just Think of it like a river, if that works for you guys, straw-wise. These people are all looking at the same data. Title companies seem to get the stuff that's coming over the waterfall at the very end of it, about 3 months after everybody else for some reason. I've never figured it out. That's not how data technically should work. I'm just telling you that as a marketer.
Well,
it makes
because
zero. Go ahead.
title companies are buying leads from lead sources. They're not cultivating the data like you'd think that they would. They have a lead source. You could go directly to the lead source and buy it. So, that's the challenge.
So to answer Barbara DeMarco's question, their data is not as current as RealtyTrack. It's not even in the ballpark of RealtyTrack, but it's free, or it paid for whatever price.
Or nominal.
Depending on your state and your RESPA violations, yes, technically, legally, they need to pay you. And since I'm about to be a short sale trainer again here in the near future and licensed in 3 different states, and I don't want to actually screw that up, let me say this legally. Yes, if you are in a state that has RESPA issues, go to RealtyTrack or Property Radar. Don't even deal with the title company, okay? There we go. I'm glad we could have that talk. So you pulled your data. You can put your own twist on it, David. Personally, right now, because I know probably people haven't heard this in a while, I always keep it simple. I don't like condos. I don't like any of that. That's just me personally. It cuts it down. If you're in New York or one of those places where it's nothing but condos, great, right? You guys sell apartments. I don't even know how that works because I'm from California. We don't technically sell apartments. We sell condos, but I prefer single family resident units, and you can put your twist on this, David. Single family resident units only, owner occupied. Please, people, owner occupied. If you want less complaints, you want people to not be angry with you, it's one button on Property Radar and RealtyTrack that you can actually do that will make a huge difference. Every complaint, dating back to even working with my ex-partner, her one and only complaint was from a non-owner occupied unit that she tagged, okay? That's where the whole thing of let's make it owner occupied. That was 7 years ago. I haven't ever looked back from that moment.
Well, I wouldn't change a whole system based on one complaint of anybody.
I would. It was a pretty bad blow up. I mean, I talked the person down, but and then she actually talked to the non-owner occupied person, but based on who she is, I'm actually not shocked by that moment either. So non-owner, I prefer owner occupied. I like the owner to actually have the information. That's me personally. If you're in a resort town, I have a friend named Terry up in Tahoe who literally fought with the system because everything is non-owner occupied. So if you're in Las Vegas or Tahoe or Florida or even parts of San Diego like me, you're going to encounter it. So you got to do what you got to do. But realize it's going to create an issue. I'm just telling you, you're looking at double the conversion time. I'm just being perfectly honest about it. The next thing, no BK. And this is where everybody writes up, what do you mean no BK? All right, David, give the BK talk.
When you say no BK, what do you mean?
No
You
BK.
can't file BK?
No, when I'm plumbing for data, I'm not looking for anything that has a BK on it.
The reason that, I got you. I didn't get the context. So the reason we skip BK is that they're already lawyered up, and it almost doesn't matter what you say. They're not going to make any move without talking to their lawyer, and their lawyer is going to tell them, no, I'll handle that for you. And so it's just, I mean, if I show up and they tell me that, then I just, I don't pack up my bag and leave, but I skip them if their postponement is BK.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've spent years, I would say every 3 to 6 months, we get somebody who comes on one of these coaching calls and says, I got a deal that's in BK, blah, blah, reverse ham with a spit and shackle side spin and a spit of whatever. Okay. We've been talking about it for literally years. Just try to avoid it when you're pulling data. I think that's about the parameters. I would say focus on notice of sales right now. They're going to be the first ones out when the courts and everybody focuses back up. The banks are going to have to clean house. Nobody's foreclosing right now. The courthouses aren't open, at least here on the West Coast. But when they do, first ones up are going to be notice of sale, notice of default second. If you're in let me show off my knowledge. If you're in Chicago or Florida or New York, it's a lis pendens. There we go. I haven't said that word in a while, David. So those are all okay. My real answer, if I were really selling this long term, look into getting data that is 30 or 60, 90 days late. There is no way, no matter what anybody tells you, I'm going to tell you this as a marketing guy. I don't care what they tell you. You can only buy from one pool of late data of homeowners. You cannot buy 30s, you cannot buy 60s, you cannot buy 90s. I don't care what they say. They're lying. We have worked for a long time with one company who has been giving me great information. They just happen to be here in my home city. Every once in a while, I'll drop in on them and just stick my head in and yell at them because they're right up the street. But the truth of the matter is, you cannot buy specific 30, 60, or 90-day late. If we could, I'd tell you to go after 90. You cannot, don't buy into it. It's all BS. But if you can get late data right now, I would be building a list of late data for homeowners like it's nobody's business. Like, I think that's a great investment of money if you're really going to pay for data leads. Did I miss anything on pulling data, David?
No, the data is the easy part. I mean, I think that's more important than go by the step-by-step process. I mean, it's a brilliant system. It works better than anything that I've ever seen in terms of getting face-to-face with homeowners. I mean, if you that have a high probability of selling, and if you're, an agent or an investor and you're twiddling your thumbs and you're wondering how you're going to make a living, over these next couple of months, I can't think of a better way to do it than to invest some time and a limited amount of money to get face to face with homeowners and have conversations with them that could help them save their house, or at least give them some control over how they transition out of that house and into something else, while also putting some money in their pocket. I mean, at the end of the day, if they're going to lose their house, we want them to lose the house with money in the bank versus losing the house with no money in the bank. So that's really my thought process, around the whole thing is it time to be in distressed property business? And the answer is clearly yes. There's going to be an uptick, and we'll probably start seeing it in about 30 days. And we should be getting prepared right now. You should be getting, brushing the dust off yourself, practicing, drilling, rehearsing, putting your systems back together, calling up the reserves. That's you, by the way. You are your own reserve. And going to the front lines and really trying to help people sort through what their options are. And in the process, you'll pick up some transactions. And this is going to probably trickle through the rest of the year for sure.
There you go. All right, next move. You pull up your monster marketing pieces, you print them out. Stop overcomplicating it, for God's sakes. It's a very simple marketing piece. It is exactly what it is. We've recommended for years, put the APN number at the top, their last name on the door, so you're able to track it, slap it on the door. So I talked to someone who is a longtime Monster member who came to me to get Facebook leads yesterday, David, and told me a horrifying story. And so I agreed to help her because that's pretty much the only cases I'm taking lately. And she goes, yeah, I used the Monster back in the day based on the direction of your ex-partner. And she goes, I put up hundreds and I didn't get a single phone call. I said, where are you located? She goes, San Diego. I said, it's impossible. Literally, it's impossible. I said, there's either a breakdown in the data you had or the person that put the tag up. It is, and I'm going to say this to everybody on the call. If you put up Monster labels and don't get any calls, and I would even say in this climate, I'm standing on the Monster at this moment, and Advocate Marketing uses the Monster labeling system. Like, it's not going, like, the system should work. Like, there should be people who want to make that phone call based on the way that marketing piece is. I've seen people rip it off. I've seen people try to duplicate it. We've seen it. The reality is, if you're putting up 36 Monster pieces every single week, you're going to get calls, even in this climate. Sorry, it's just going to happen. They're going to want to meet.
We're getting calls. So, I mean, listen, the fear of losing their house overrides their fear of catching coronavirus, that have, what are they saying, 6,700, 7,000 people out
Yeah,
of 300 million have it. I mean,
right.
there's a minuscule chance that you're going to catch it. I mean, God forbid any of us, here catch it, but there is a minuscule chance that somebody is, going to catch it. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and go talk to a whole bunch of people, and there should be some, you know, some social distancing involved, and maybe you decide you don't want to do it for a week or two or three. But right now you should be getting ready. You should be putting your plan together. You should be organizing your data. You should be putting your routine, together. You should seriously think about putting, labels up. So you're going to get phone calls because people are more worried about losing their house than catching corona.
Yeah, unless you're lucky like me and you know someone whose sister actually has it, and you just get lucky like that where
Just
you
don't
just actually
just
get
don't
it.
be in the room with anybody who's been in the room with a sister.
Well, and I told that person, yeah. I've got friends who want to come to visit all the time at the beach. I'm like, anybody in your family sick? Like, if they
Well,
don't, yeah,
they
you can
don't.
come
I
down
mean,
and,
that's the problem with this thing is nobody know. You can be, especially young people, they can have it and have no symptoms. You
oh,
just don't. You
completely.
just don't know. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, if you get it and you know two people, and they get it and they know two people, and they get it and they know two
Oh,
people,
yeah.
that's the exponential, spread of it part that they're trying to stop. It's not that everyone's going to get it. They're just trying the network marketing aspect of it is what they're trying to contain.
All right. So you put your monster labels up. For those of you who wonder, Call Central just has been the go-to choice for David and I. For those of you who don't get it because you're listening to a podcast or watching a video, sorry. Plus, we have an exclusive script that we use with multiple scripts on top of it. You feel free to call them, but they're not giving up those scripts. They're going to ask exactly who we are and then confirm it with us. So it's not me giving out trade secrets. The script will work. You'll get to the door. Let's talk advocate marketing to end out today, David, and spend the last couple of minutes on this topic. Let's talk about an advocate marketing package at the front door and
Well,
maybe
yeah,
put a sensitive spin on this.
yeah. The whole secret to monster marketing and advocate marketing is really just a conversion. I mean, at the end of the day, people get leads all the time, and I think you've been telling me about some of your experiences in helping people get lead, where you're generating lots of leads for people, and this happens with my salespeople. You
Right.
give them a bunch of leads, and then all of a sudden say, "Well, these leads aren't any good." And my response is, "Dude,
They filled
failure
out a
to
form.
close
You
the
got an
lead
email
is
address
not
and a
the
phone
fault
number.
of the
Right.
lead."
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
literally mind-boggling to me because I just had this discussion yesterday, and there's a couple of people on this call that I've kind of yelled at lately, where I go, I can see you've had leads for the last 2 months. Why are you telling me things are bad? Like you've got an email, a phone number, and a name.
yeah.
It's a list.
And
Get to
so,
work.
right. And so what we've got to do, failure to convert the lead is not the fault of the lead. It's our responsibility to engage with that client and to move them to the next step of the process. So when we're meeting with somebody at the front door, the objective is not to sell them anything. I mean, if you're getting leads and you're going right for the close and you're just looking for low-hanging fruit, that's not how these things go. They're not referrals where you've been teed up and you just got to show up, smile, and it's your deal to lose. A lot of time what you're trying to, marketing and is, the right message at the right time in front of the right person, right? Sales, when you think about sales and marketing, that's what marketing is: right message, right time, right person. Sales is conversion. That's really where it happens. And so what monster marketing really is about marketing to put you in the the right message, right time, right person. And all you're getting is face to face with somebody who has a high probability of selling. We know that about 70% of people who face foreclosure end up selling their house. The reason that I like to tag people who are 21 days, 21 to 30 days from foreclosure is that they've got the pressure of that foreclosure to make a decision inside of that time frame. So the probability of them selling their house or finding a solution is going to happen relatively quickly. And so I like the immediacy and the urgency of that. And what you say and do and give them at the front door is really everything that we cover in advocate marketing. So basically what we're saying is that we're going to the door, we're telling them how we know them, we're telling them why we're there, and we start reviewing the alternatives to foreclosure with them to engage them in a conversation. It's like meeting somebody for the first time. It can be a little awkward, but if you can just get through the first 90 seconds, it warms up very quickly, and very often you're there, 30, 40, 50 minutes, and you leave feeling like you've known each other forever. That happens all the time, but it really comes down to making sure that you're serving them and not selling them. The problem that we have is that we get to the front door and we go right, we put our salesperson hat on and we focus on convert, 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 convert. And what we teach you in advocate marketing is to serve, 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 serve. And if you take the time to find out what they want, not what you want, they want, and you spend the rest of the time that you have helping them do that, when they're ready to do something beyond that, when they realize that what they want to do is not possible, when they realize that you've been helping them in their endeavor and making sure they understood their options and preparing them for a transition, even if they're not quite ready to make it, they're going to seek you out when they run out of options, and then you're going to have the conversation about selling. That's how it works, and it works very effectively. I have a meeting with somebody tomorrow that we've been talking to for almost a year, and they're out of options. And I'm not going to their house tomorrow at 1 o'clock. They're coming to my office tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we're going to walk through the different options. But the reality is that it's time for them to sell their house. And now I'll be able to tell them that, because for almost a year I've been telling them, don't worry about selling. As long as this is an option, let's go down this path. Let's go down this path. That path is not an option anymore. Now we get to have a facts of life conversation. And that's what we're going to be able to do. And that's how advocate marketing works, is we find out what they want and we try to help them do what they want. And if that means they want to try to keep their house, then we'll help them keep their house. Okay. But if we help them keep their house and it turns out if we try and they can't, then we have to talk. When they ask me, what are my options? Well, your options are to lose the house to foreclosure or to transition out of the house and get some control over how you're going to do that transition. Can we buy you more time? Can we get you some money in your pocket? Can you participate in when we're going to close? Those are all things are yes in most cases. And so what we want to do is we want to work together in order to do that. And we'll also help you find a new place so that you can get into something that you can manage, and it won't take you long at all to resume a much higher quality of life, because you may not even be aware at the cell level how all this negative energy is impacting the quality of your emotional life and maybe even physical life.
So because we're not doing the actual event, we're going to push it back till May or June or whenever this is over. And by the way, I'm making it abundantly clear, you guys can kiss Pasadena goodbye. When this is all over, we're going to Vegas, because I'm pissed off at this point. Like, it's bad enough that I'm going to lose my birthday.
Right now. I have a meeting there in May. Maybe we can coordinate it around that, but I just don't see, and we don't even know if that's going to happen right now, but
I've already gotten the notice from the library. No.
If you guys are if you're from Vegas and you're on this call, you need to be tagging in a big way. I mean, the opportunities in Vegas. I mean,
I'm surprised Steve Hawks. I'm gonna be honest. I'm surprised Steve Hawks hasn't called us. I'm honestly a little shocked.
close the strip, you know what, my goodness, I mean, the opportunity in Vegas right now, I mean, that's maybe 50% of the population is employed by the strip.
For those of you in San Diego, I'm going to tell you this.
It's really going to be messy in Vegas.
Oh, I'll go a step further. I'm here in San Diego, and I'm telling you, if they've shut down San Diego, San Diego was a
closing the hotels in San Diego. It's going to be nuts. If they start closing hotels down, that's another. You know, you're talking about thousands of. It's one
well,
thing.
let's just go with Disneyland all the way to SeaWorld, okay, as a destination for everybody during spring break. From Disneyland to SeaWorld, everything, including the zoos, are closed. Wow. That's
it's going to have far-reaching effects if they keep closing things down. So it's just stuff to think of. So it is coming. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What you shouldn't do about it. Here's what I'm telling my team. We still have to do transactions. There are still people that want to do transactions. Is it going to be slower? Probably. Are we going to go out of business? No. Okay. So the worst thing that you can do, and I gotta go, by the way, but the worst thing that you can do is just move to the sideline and say, nobody's doing any business. There's just no reason to try, and you just go on a mental vacation and you just start catching up on all the Netflix binges you've fallen behind for the next couple months and wait for it to pass over, because that is that's absolutely the worst thing you can do. You have to go out there and nurture those contacts, reassure people, give them the information. You're not sure what to tell people about that. Go to my Facebook page. You could go to Home Loan Advocates on Facebook. I posted a video yesterday on Corona and real estate. Watch it. It's 4 or 5 minutes long, and it'll give you my complete views on what to do with Corona. You can find it at helpyourselffullservice.com. You can find it at David Bartels Realtor. These are all Facebook pages. You can even find it. It's even on YouTube. If you look for it.
Yep.
So,
but we agreed to, before you have to go, David, I want to get everybody.
Link.
Before you have to go, and I'm going to answer.
Apply it to your business.
I want to get everybody. There are a lot of questions. I'll answer them. David has to go, but I want to make this clear.
Well, let's try to answer them.
Okay, we'll fire through them. But real quick, for those that are existing coaching students and those that are not coaching students who want to get involved in advocate marketing, go to honish.com, fill out the form. I'll get them to David. David will contact you. What is the cost for people to get involved in advocate marketing?
Well, if you're a Monster member already, it's just $9.97. And I've got all the course. I've got an investor focused course. I've got a realtor focused course. They're all in the can. You can start watching them right away. You don't have to wait for a live meeting, which we'll probably do soon. Once we have a better idea, probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll probably announce a live training once the dust settles a little bit. But if you don't want to wait, if you're already an advocate marketing member, go. Everything is right there. Go watch the training again. Get reinvigorated. Get refocused. Go take some action. It costs you nothing. Just go into. We have a Dropbox link for members that you can go in and take advantage of everything. So go get after it. And don't wait. If you're new and you want to figure out what all this means and you want more information, you can do 2 things. You can go to the form, or you can send me an email at david@homeloanadvocates.com, david@homeloanadvocates.com, and I'll send you a preview webinar that walks you through everything that Lee and I have been talking about as it relates to the monster process. The data, the tagging, the conversion. We walk you all the way through that. And if you've got 50, 60 minutes to go watch it at your leisure, and it'll give you the information you need to figure out whether or not you want to be on this journey with us.
Again, go to homeloanadvocates.com. His number's right on there, 805-413-8000. Why do I know it so well? Because I do the internet marketing for that as well. So I know the number by heart. Go to honish.com, fill out the form, get involved, start getting involved in distress.